After studying this module, you shall be able to understand the meaning of aging, learn about the importance of studying health of elderly, learn about the different facets of health, identify the determinants of health for aging population. Old age and aging. Aging is a mold which takes shape year by year as one grows old. Old age comes to every one of us. It is an inseparable part of our human destiny. Aging is not only seen as coming of mental and physical disorientation, but many elderly do see it as a junction of life, which leads to their growth. It makes them one with their inner strength and completes their personality. For some, it is attainment of peace and calmness, and for others, it is a stage which is leading them to an undesirable path of wretchedness. Defining old has never been an easy task. It has always put many researchers and even common man in fix, as there are several definitions and terms which can be used interchangeably. The phenomena of aging can be considered from a number of perspectives. The biologist is often concerned with longevity and the antecedents of death, and the sociologist tends to focus on social roles and the relationships that aged have with the society, while the psychologist is concerned with individual adaptability and adjustment. Old age shows a picture of sickness, despair, dependability, disturbance and disappointment. The response of society towards aging and aged is complex. With modernization and urbanization, it has become more and more intricate. As the values of relationships are deteriorating, it has a great impact on aging. Elderly are now facing social isolation. Even the breaking of family systems like nuclear families is affecting the values of aged population. With modernization, the relatives and children are going far off for work. Even the status of aged in terms of economic earner goes down, and furthermore, if there is physical immovability, it adds on to the stress and despair. Aging as a process has biology as its base. It has its own wavelength and it is beyond control of human beings. Nevertheless, the society and the surrounding a person is living in formulate the perception of aged and aging. In many developed countries, the main way to understand aging is through the biological age factor, or commonly known as the chronological age. In such countries, the retirement age is already being set, and according to that, a person indulges into economic status and work opportunities. On the other hand, in developing countries, biological age loses its importance and socially constructed roles, rights and status hold much more significance. So the chronological age does not affect the perception as such, but because of chronological age, if any physical deterioration happens which leads to loss of role and duties performed by the older adults, then it formulates the defining structure of old age. For developed countries, biological age is the defining aspect for aged. But in developing countries, the weakening in the role and status possessed by the elderly defines old age. It is important to distinguish between the various aspects of aging in humans. These are biological aging. It refers to the physical changes in the body systems during the later years of life. Psychological aging. It refers to adaptive capabilities of the individuals as observed from their behavior, but it may also refer to subjective reaction or self-awareness. Social aging refers to the social habits and roles of an individual with respect to its culture and society. As social age progresses, the individual experiences a decrease in meaningful social interaction. Affective aging, reduced adaptive capacities of the individual in relation to the altered environment. The problem of defining aging is prevalent for long period of time, as different researchers use different criteria to classify an individual as aged or not. Some distinguish and separate them on the basis of chronological age, while others do so on social, psychological or physical characteristics. WHO offers the following classification. The age group of 60 to 70 years is known as young old. Age group of 70 to 80 years is classified as old, and 80 years and above is classified as old. According to Henning in 1993, chronological age cannot be used to define old age. Neither can the beginning of old age be ascertained by physical criteria. There is no definite age beyond which all our physical function begin to deteriorate. There are various changes which occurs physiologically and mentally as a person grows old. Some of the typical changes or problems elderly face range in dependency on others around, deterioration in physical health, weakening of social status, recognition and set roles, dearth of economic and social protection, absence of utilization of time in fruitful and useful manner. Ageism. The classifications of humans are done on various dimensions. Out of these dimensions, the most prominent way of classification is on the basis of age. Many scholars have found that age is not much of a gender category as a social category. The younger generation and the older adults also have a stereotypical viewpoint towards aging and aged. There are many negative constructs which are being attached to being old. The emphasis in these constructs are more on negative side as compared to the positive one. These stereotypical stances lead to discriminatory acts towards the elderly. Chronological age acts as a base for different negative beliefs, attitudes, perspectives and perception towards old adults. These ages attitudes are explicitly visible through the verbal communication of a person and through his actions or behavior towards aged. Both negative and positive connotation is attached to the word ageist or ageist behavior. Sometimes this behavior could lead towards positivity, but maximum portion remains of the negative actions. Even when the behavior appears positive from deep inside, it creates hurdles for aged population and brings hindrance in achieving them their goal. Importance of studying health of elderly. It has been proposed that by the end of year 2020, nearly 1 billion aged populations would constitute the world population. These 60 and above elderly would have a larger share in developing countries. Out of the whole lot, nearly 2/3 would be residing in developing countries. India ranks 4th among the world's countries in terms of the absolute size of the elderly population. In different developed and developing countries, the aged population has been increasing since the beginning of 20th century. Their magnitude either in terms of number or share to total population is found to have risen gradually. Even in India, the increase has been rapid. India's current older population of 60 million is projected to exceed 227 million in 2050, an increase of nearly to 80% from today. A basic issue which is born because of speedy growth in elderly population is the heightened occurrence of disorders and diseases. Therefore, aging process needs a special attention. As the length of life and number and proportion of older persons increase in most industrialized and many developing nations, a central question is whether this population aging will be accompanied by sustained or improved health and improving quality of life and sufficient social and economic resources. As elderly would formulate a high proportion of population in the coming years, it becomes very important to study the aspects of health and healthcare affecting the old people. Even as the elderly are at risk of impairment, both physical and mental, it becomes all the more significant to study in depth their facets of physical and mental health. which could eventually lead to a better solution to their problems and impairments. Understanding health. Understanding health leads to a multi-dimensional perspective. WHO initially defined health not only in terms of well-being and its facets like physical, social and mental, but later on major addition was done, where a person is considered healthy only when he or she has absence of disability, disease or disorder. Therefore, the final definition not only looked at different aspects or divisions of health, but it also concentrated on having a positive and balanced life which is free from all diseases and discomforts. Researchers have seen health in three forms, and hence there are three kinds of definition of health which are prevalent in written text. The first one concentrates on just the non-existence of disorder, disability and disease. The second definition highlights that health is a condition which helps a human being to sufficiently deal with the demands and stresses laid by the daily life upon him or her. The third one emphasizes on the balancing act of health. Here, health is viewed as equilibrium inside a person, which helps him to maintain his inner strength, and this equilibrium even attaches his inner strength to the external environment. By this, he maintains stability between his environment and his social or physical surroundings. The concept of health has evolved over the centuries as a concept from an individual concern to a worldwide social goal. The changing concept of health is 1. Biomedical concept, 2. Ecological concept, 3. Psychosocial concept and 4. Holistic concept. First, biomedical concept. Biomedical concept views health as absence of disease. Biomedical perspective gets its roots from the germ theory, which is related to diseases. According to this perspective, humans are mechanical in nature, as they act as machines. Hence, any disorder or disease is a sign of failure of this machine. The mechanic who cures or repairs this machine is a doctor. Although the concept gave a starting point for understanding and studying health, this perspective, like other concepts, have criticism which are based on its low emphasis on the environmental and social factors, and its too much emphasis on genetic or bodily concepts. 2. Ecological concept. Ecological concept views health as a dynamic equilibrium between man and his environment. According to this concept, humans' ecological and cultural adaptations determine the occurrence of disease. 3. Psychosocial concept. Development in social sciences focused on factors influencing health such as physiological acts, psychological, societal, economic, political, gender and cultural factors of the individuals. Psychosocial concept views health as both a biological and social phenomena. 4. Holistic concept. As the name itself suggests, holistic model is a fusion of biomedical, ecological and psychosocial concept. It laid importance to not only the physiological aspects of health, but also due to recognition to the economical, environmental, psychological and social aspects affecting health of an individual. It sees health as a combination of healthy mind in a healthy body, having a healthy social environment. Hence, the emphasis is on prevention and promotion of healthy older adults. Different facets of health. To understand the health and well-being of older people, it is important to understand the different components of health which get affected by the various internal and external factors. These are physical, emotional, social, environmental, mental and spiritual. 1. Physical health. It refers to the way in which an elderly body carries out its functioning. It relates to the food habits he has, physical activity he engages himself into, and having an optimal level of weight, pulse rate, etc. Physical health also relates to avoiding all bad habits. which harm a person's body, like indulging in smoking, drinking, etc. Hence, it emphasizes on maintaining a good health physiologically. Second, social health. It refers to the kind and type of people with whom a person is in contact on regular basis. Social environment consists of close friends, family members, and near and dear ones of a person. A positive social environment leads to a healthy social life. 3. Environmental health. Environment here means the immediate physical surroundings in which a person stays. It relates to a clean breathing air, pure water to drink, healthy food to eat, and most importantly, a safe house and clean atmosphere. 4. Emotional health. Emotional health relates to the emotional expression of a person. It emphasizes on free expression of emotions and even an apt understanding of whatever has been expressed. 5th, spiritual health. Spiritual health deals with spirituality and oneness. It relates to loving other beings and having a spiritual path to follow. This path not only gives a direction to attain happiness, but it also provides contentment and peace from within. It sets a path of being co-joined with the ultimate bliss. For an elderly person, spiritual health formulates an important part of being healthy. Last, intellectual and mental health. It is the ability to recognize reality and cope with the demands of daily life. It connects to the mental processing, memorizing, and reasoning, which formulate the path of smooth day-to-day working. Factors affecting health of elderly. There are certain factors which affect the health of elderly. Some of them include economic and social environment of old adults, the immediate physical environment of elderly, the individual's attitudes, perception, characteristics and behavior towards himself and others. Economic and social environment of old adults. Economic freedom formulates a very important determinant for healthy life of elderly. As a person passes through the phase of old age, different transformations occur in his life. His occupational life changes, the roles he plays in the family also changes, even the type of status he holds changes. These role loss and role changes contributes to various psychological problems for senior citizens. Many changes are seen in later part of the life. Some of these are social and psychological in nature. These are related to retirement and hence loss of occupational friends and occupational environment, dependability on others even for the day-to-day working, trouble in realizing, accepting and then coping with the biological changes of a person goes through in later years of life. As there are changes at physiological level, hence number of medication increases for a reasonable good portion of older population. Children start to live their own life and hence because of time constraints from the side of children, many a times elderly face social isolation. The working ability seems to have lost as the occupational work goes off. Financial constraints because of retirement and physical problems. Boredom because of social and occupational role reduction. These aspects forms an integral part of older population, policy formulation and healthcare services. Understanding of these aspects leads to perceptive towards the overall health patterns of elderly population. Physical determinants of health reflect physical factors and conditions in work environment in which people are born. Physical determinants of health reflect physical factors and conditions in the environment in which people are born, live, learn, play, work and age. They affect a wide range of health, functioning and quality of life outcomes of elderly. These factors have a direct impact on health. Healthy air, food, water, safe and clean surrounding all formulate a healthy living environment for elderly. Person's individual characteristics and behavior. Individual behavior also plays a role in health outcomes. Many public health and healthcare intervention focus on changing individual behavior such as substance abuse, diet and physical activity. Positive changes in individual behavior can reduce the rate of chronic disease in elderly population. The context of people's lives determines their health. Individuals are likely to be able to directly control many of the determinants of health. These determinants or things that make people healthy or not include the following factors. Social support networks. If an elderly gets support and love from his near and dear ones, it leads to their better health. True friends and relatives help older adults to maintain their problem solving and reasoning ability. It gives them a sense of power, control and mastery over the external environment. The respect, love and care which elderly gets from social relationships help them in attainment of well-being and positive health benefits. Social environment. The kind and type of environment an aged lives in affects the health. Social environment formulates the immediate physical environment which consists of people close to elderly. At macro level, it also relates to the institutions an elderly is associated with, the informal and formal groups he is a part of, and the practices he indulges into while being part of these organizations. Aged adults are attached with these institutes and build relationships with the people who are part of these organizations. Even the norms and values shared by those around aged influence their thinking and behavior and hence affect their overall health. Healthy working environment, social stability and supportive relationships reduce the stresses and risks to good health of aged population. Income and social status. Higher income and social status are linked to better health of old people. The greater the gap between richest and poorest people in society, the greater will be the difference in health. Health status improves at each step up the economy and social hierarchy. High income determines having conditions such as safe housing and ability to buy sufficient good food. The healthiest populations are those in society which are prosperous and have an equitable distribution of wealth. Not everyone could become the richest, but the gap between the rich and the poor could be reduced. Certain level of monetary security could lead to better living conditions and independence for elderly. Physical environment. Safe water and clean air, healthy workplaces, safe houses, communities and roads all contribute to good health of an older people. As the movability is affected because of aging, it becomes important to have accessible physical amenities. In the built environment, factors related to housing, indoor air quality and the design of communities and transportation systems can significantly influence the physical and psychological well-being of elderly population. Personal health practices and coping skills. Personal behavior and coping skills like balanced eating, keeping active, smoking, drinking and how to deal with life's stresses and challenges all affect health. The coping strategies in personal health care reflects the behavior by which an elderly tries to diminish the diseases and encourage self-care actions. Through these skills, older adults become self-reliant and gets confidence to overcome their physical problems. Healthy lifestyle formulates the base for a long-term healthy and balanced life and personality. However, these personal life decisions are largely influenced by the social and environmental setting in which elderly live, work and grow. Biology and genetic endowment. Inheritance play a part in determining lifespan, healthiness and the likelihood of developing certain illnesses. Genetic formation of a person leads to a predisposition towards certain diseases and immunity from certain others. Biology forms the basis and eventually the social factors could aggravate or diminish the working of these biological factors. If an understanding of these predispositions can be attained, then a reduction in the impact of the illness could be achieved. Education. Low education levels are linked with poor health, more stress and lower self-confidence. Health status improves with the level of education. Education is closely tied to socio-economic status and effective education and lifelong learning for older adults are key contributors to their health and prosperity. Education not only means formal education, but it also relates to getting educated about their rights, laws related to elderly and how and from where to take help whenever needed. Culture. Customs and traditions and the beliefs of the family and community all affect health of elderly. Some person may face additional health risk due to a social economic environment which is largely determined by dominant cultural values that contribute to the perpetuation of conditions such as marginalization, stigmatization, loss or devaluation of language and culture, and lack of access to culturally appropriate healthcare and services. Gender. Men and women suffer from different types of diseases at different ages. Gender refers to the array of society, determined roles, personality traits, attitudes, behaviors, values, relative power and the influence that society ascribes to the two sexes on a differential basis. Health services, particularly those designed to maintain and promote health, to prevent diseases and to restore health and function, contribute to population health. Gendered norms influence the health system's practices and priorities. Many health issues are a function of gender-based social status or roles. Health services. Access and use of services that prevent and treat diseases influences health. Different healthcare services which are formulated to improve and promote health of aged population for prevention from disorders and diseases is formulated only after taking into consideration the gender, knowledge and vigilance level of elderly. Many healthcare services are not being reached to the elderly who needs them the most. Taking into consideration all the factors affecting the health of elderly population, it becomes important to have a holistic perspective towards healthcare of elderly. Even when information and communication technology could play an important role in terms of instant help and medical support. Health is multidimensional and hence every dimension has equal importance. A positive health state of elderly could only be achieved when each facet is understood by them and taken care by the people who formulate their surroundings. Summary. Defining old age has never been an easy task. It has always put many researchers and even common person in fix, as there are several definitions and terms which can be used interchangeably. Aging is a mold which takes shape year by year as one grows older. The various facets of aging process are biological, psychological, social and affective in nature. The younger generation and the older adults also have a stereotypical viewpoint towards aging and aged. There are many negative constructs which are being attached to being old. The definition of health not only looked at different aspects or divisions of health, but it also concentrated on having a positive and balanced life which is free from all diseases and discomforts. To comprehend the health and well-being of older people, it is important to understand the different aspects of health which could be divided into emotional health of elderly, physical health, environmental health, social health and spiritual and mental health of aged. The factors affecting health of elderly includes economic and social environment of old adults, the immediate physical environment of elderly and the individual's attitude, perception, characteristics and behavior towards himself and others. A positive health state of elderly could not only be achieved when each facet is understood in detail and is taken care of in the actual life situations.